Yeah, I know you hear those sirens, man. We out here in New York, out here by Chelsea Piers. And I would like to welcome everyone. This is the House of Business Podcast 2.0. It's your host, Caleb Thompson. And we're going to have a good one for you today. Man, today has been a blessed day. Today has been a day that's full of joy, peace, understanding, man. God is really moving God in my business, in the lives of my employees, you know what I mean? Which I feel like the angels of God are my employees. You know, they're moving and shaking things in unseen places, man, that's really been making my life joyful, making my life peaceful. And I thank God for that. So, man, we cannot leave God out of things, man. Business is spiritual. And I just want to let you guys know that, man, everything is moving forward. So this one that we have for you today is called Notes from the Passenger Seat. So today, this one is called Notes from the Passenger Seat. Notes from the Passenger Seat. Once again, like I said, I always do this, but this is the House of Business Podcast 2.0. This is the host, Caleb Thompson. This is the place where we give you the knowledge and tools to execute your dreams and visions. And I just want to welcome you guys in. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for always been a part of this channel. Like, share, subscribe to this channel. As we continue to grow, we'll continue to pour in knowledge and wisdom that will help you to grow in your small business. It'll help you to maybe even remind you of some things, morally, or some core values, or maybe some company culture values that needs to be revisited, you know what I mean, that you maybe got away from. Life's got too busy, and maybe your company is, it's the culture starting to shape itself by certain employees coming in and having a position and shaping the culture, and it's getting away from your original vision or original plan for that company. So, man, whatever we can do, man, to pour into you, man, hopefully, man, that's going to be a blessing to you. That's going to be a blessing to your company. That's going to actually, continue to help you to pour into your company as well. So in this episode, it is called Notes from the Passenger Seat. And what we're going to be talking about, I'm going to give you 3 points, but we're basically going to be talking about how all these things in life that you've went through, taking these notes, not being in the driver's seat as of yet before you started your small business. We know that this channel is mostly for small business owners, but before you got to that point, before you got to the driver's seat, we want to let you know how nothing is wasted, man. Those notes from the passenger seat that you've taken from past job experiences, also from internships and your early ventures in business. So we want you to know that none of those things are wasted. You have to take all of those things, the plethora of those things that you've experienced in life, and you have to learn how to use those things and ultimately monetize those experiences. So number one, like I said, we have 3 points. We're going to go off with number one. Number one is lessons from the backseat, why observation is a secret weapon. So originally, like we said, this episode is named, Notes from the Passenger Seat, but we want to back up a little bit. We want to go back to the backseat of things. Lessons from the backseat, why observation is a secret weapon. And I want you to know that, and why we say the back seat, because we're going to move forward to the front seat as the driver. So this is the trajectory that we're going with this podcast. But I want you to know that with this episode, but the back seat is like being in those supportive roles. You know what I mean? Like we just talked about, like whether it's past jobs, internships, or early ventures, they actually give you a front row seat to how leadership works and how it doesn't work. Before I stepped into a place of leadership, it's just like, at a restaurant, before you're the executive chef, or before you're the general manager, or before you're even the owner, you start washing dishes. Some people that come in, they're entry level employee, first coming in, first signed your onboarding package, and you're a dishwasher. You start from the dishwasher, now you're a prep cook, now you're a line cook, now you're sous chef, executive sous chef, whatever, however that ranking goes. But that's where you start. But I want you to know that those things, you are not supposed to just be working a job just to get paid. You are supposed to be working a job to gain the experience that you need so you can start to create financial freedom for yourself, and also ultimately teach you how to be a better boss or leader once you step into the position of owning your own company or your own business. That is the ultimate goal of working a job. of taking in those experiences from you being raised. Growing up, my family gave me some life lessons that I would never forget. But I take those things and I apply it to my role in leadership to say, you know what, I would never treat someone like this. It's not to say I was treated like this, woe is me. The world is a bad place. The world spit on me, so I'm going to spit on everyone else. That's not what you're supposed to take those experiences for. You're supposed to take those experiences and you're supposed to find out, how can I make someone now you can take the good and the bad. There's good and bad in every experience, and I'm not going to let anyone run over me, but I'm not going to oppress anyone either, because there has to be a balance in leadership. There has to be a balance, and that's something that you really need to understand. You really need to understand that everything that you experienced in life, it has a pro and a con to it. So it's okay for you to take these experiences and apply these experiences to your skill set as a leader. So that's the goal, man. The world is full of leaders, and that's what we're aiming towards. We are leaders creating leaders. We are not leaders creating employees. We want you to reach your fullest potential, discover your purpose here on this earth, and actually to execute in everything that you do. That means to execute. And we're not talking about, we're talking about consistency. We're talking about resilience. We're talking about executing your goals, your dreams, and your plans. That is the ultimate goal. So you're always going to start, like I said, this is called notes from the passenger seat. But number one is the lessons from the back seat, while observations is the secret weapon, like we just talked about. So, just being in these supportive roles, how they help you. Now, I want you to know this too as well. Whenever you are an entry-level employee, or even let's say just even a seasoned employee or a seasoned vet, working somewhere, you've been working somewhere 10 years, 15 years, 6 years. A lot of people work, like say Colonel Sanders didn't start KFC. I guess he was 70 something years old. A lot of people didn't become millionaires that are 50, 60, 70 years old. But in that time in the dark, they were developing the skill set. They were taking all those experiences and everything that they've learned. And what they were doing is they were just building themselves up, creating a foundation, whether that was intellectually, whether that was just gaining information that they needed before they launched or stepped into that position. But because they had already started to, it's just like this. If you're hanging around 5 millionaires, you're bound to be the sixth one. If you are taking the time and putting the work in to become a certain person, if you continue to be consistent on that path towards working towards that, it will happen for you. It will happen for you. You have to stay down. But whether you're an entry-level employee or a seasoned one, man, you have to use that experience and those mental notes to prepare you to drive or to step into the passenger seat or to drive, your own vision with wisdom and perspective. You have to use that knowledge to drive your own vision. We're not, and I'm not saying everyone, because some people just like to go to work and go home. So I'm not talking to those type of people. Now, like I said, this channel is actually for entrepreneurs, small business owners. But what I want you to know is no experience is wasted. If you feel like there is something in you telling you that that you want to be a business owner, you want to create a product, you want to not only just want the title, but you want the responsibility that comes with it. That's leading with empathy. You know what I mean? Being supportive. You know what I mean? Just, there's a lot of factors in being a leader. But let's go to number two. So number two is turning experience into equity, entering the passenger seat. So number one was lessons from the backseat, while observation is a secret weapon, and we went over that, how that's a secret weapon. Number two is turning experience into equity, entering the passenger seat. Now, what I want you to know about this, entering the passenger seat, turning experience into equity. And then if you're a person that's turning experience into equity, why are we still saying that you are in the passenger seat? We want you to know that brings you to the passenger seat. Now, when you sat back and you observed and you were in the back seat and you were seeing how things were ran, you were taking those mental notes of the way another person led, and you said, well, I would do this, but I wouldn't do this. I would do this in that situation, but I wouldn't do this. But once you get to a point where you start to turn your experiences, you move away from the backseat and start to put your vision into play. What's happening here is that there's a transition going on from the backseat to the passenger seat. While we say the passenger seat is just because of this. This is the time where you are meant to learn trial and error. You are not yet driving your vision the way that the driver's seat is not only when you're driving your vision, but you are driving the vision in someone else. Someone else's vision could be to work for someone for the rest of their life that treats them well. But your vision has to drive the vision that's within other people. So whatever that vision is, you have to make that vision come alive. Maybe some people will abandon their vision to work on your vision if you're treating them right enough. You know what I mean? But your job is ultimately to encourage and bring out the full potential, or the highest caliber of potential within an employee or within individual, each individual that you come in contact with. So I want you to know, so moving from the backseat, I've been in those supportive roles and moving into, let's say, the passenger seat, that is turning your experience into equity. So turning your experience into equity, that basically means that I have now put the plan into motion. I took all that time and I built a business plan. I've seen the rights, the wrongs, what I would do, what I wouldn't do. And now we're moving that plan into motion. So that's turning that experience into equity. So turning that experience into equity. And how do you do that? By taking all those experiences, those entry level, let's say entry level skill set that you develop by working with those other companies. Whether that is getting your social skills up, getting your grammar up, getting your vocabulary up. There's a certain thing as business vocabulary. You know what I mean? From simple things like give me a ballpark number, or you know what I mean, or I'll touch base with you. Learning those simple things and applying that to your position as you step into leadership, or you step into the trial and error of launching your business from the passenger seat, launching your business. And now you're basically saying, okay, I knew what I would do and what I wouldn't do by watching someone else, but now I'm in that position. Now I have to learn from trial and error. How do I really drive a successful business, drive my business successfully without it's always going to be some ups and downs, but drive it to a point where I learn from my trial and error of myself, and while someone else is watching me do the same. All right, so learn how to extract, apply, and monetize those experiences to build something meaningful, sustainable, and original. So this is something that I like to do as well. Even with being in the passenger seat and turning your experience into equity in between that transition from the back seat to the front seat, of not only just being in supportive roles. One thing that I like to do is I would take idea. I would take not just take and plagiarize someone else's idea, but just like they have Korean barbecue, they have this and that. I would take even in the restaurant business, I would take certain traditional foods and then I would modernize it or customize it to my own liking or to my own creativity. So I would customize that dish specifically tailored to my creativity of who I was as a person, according to my culture, according to my personality, or something, and I shared that with the world. And that's the same thing you have to do in business. You can learn from, like me, I can learn from Patrick Bet-David. I can learn from, Donald Trump, or not saying that these are which I do admire these men that I'm speaking of. I can learn from anyone in particular. I can learn pros, cons from anyone. You can learn from anyone. But what I can do is I can eat the meat and leave the bones. I can eat the things that I can apply to my life, and those things that I do take in, I can still customize it according to my personality, according to my outlook on life, and let some of these ideologies or some of this knowledge help shape my view of business or my view of life, my view of family, which a lot of his content has. Just like the Bible has as well. I'm not comparing the man to the words of God, but what I'm saying is a lot of people have poured into me without knowing. A lot of businessmen, a lot of everyday people that I've came across have poured into me. Children, where a child thinks a child can birth creativity in you. If you're just not so caught up in the world, the things that's going on in the world, you can look at a child, and the child can just, that childlike character, that births creativity. I'm not saying childishness births creativity, but having a childlike spirit helps you to be creative. When the world is not on your shoulders, when you can be more creative. So that's what we're looking for when you're in a place of leadership. We're looking for creativity. We're looking for someone who's resilient. We're looking for someone that's well-rounded on all facets and all areas. So that's who people want to follow. Once again, if you're just not tuning in, this is the House of Business Podcast 2.0. This episode is called Notes from the Passenger Seat. We have 3 points here. Number 1 is lessons from the backseat, while observation is a secret weapon. Number 2 is turning your experiences into equity, entering into the passenger seat. And number 3 is, this is our third point, was becoming the driver, from learning to leading. So we just once you get from that point of trial and error of launching your own company, finding out the trial and error. Now this happened with me as well. So when I first launched I had 3 companies, but the one that was really my baby, my firstborn, I actually, hired some nurses, some practitioners, and I call these employees. These are employees that have the skill set. They're very intelligent, and a lot of them were international employees. But one thing that I didn't get right is I didn't know how to reiterate or share my vision to a point where other people could receive it. So we couldn't really move ahead. I had a vision. I knew exactly what I wanted, but I could not speak that or share that vision in a way where people say, okay, I see where you're coming from. It was just like this. Have you ever heard someone saying something that was just like, you had to be there, or I know what I'm thinking, but I just don't know how to say it. So I had to get better at really my grammar and basically learning how to share my vision, learning how to break down the vision to a point like we don't have to break down telling a child not to touch a hot fire. You don't touch the fire because it's extremely hot. It could burn you. You have to go to the hospital. It creates this. You can tell them the whole effect of just that simple action. And that's something I had to do with my vision. I knew exactly what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. But learning how to share that, put that into words where people could receive it or they could understand it, that's something that I had to learn how to do. So that cost me a lot. It cost me a lot of money. Cost me a lot of money not knowing how to share my vision with those who wanted to be a part of it. So that will cost you. Running a company, you need to know how to share that vision. You need to know how to break the vision down to a point that each area, each department, that you can share that with someone who is a professional in that area. So that's something you have to do. So number 3 is becoming the driver, learning from learning to leading. And I want you to know that the truth is that you'll never be fully ready. That's part of the process. You will never be fully ready to lead. I don't care how much knowledge you obtain, maintain, retain, chow mein. I don't care how much knowledge or how intelligent you think you really are. You will never be fully ready to lead or be responsible for a group of individuals until just like riding a bike, you have to jump on the bike. You're never going to say, okay, I think I'm ready now. And then you're going to run into a situation that you never expected. That was, you never anticipated these things happening. And then now you have to learn from that experience. So some things only come from experience. Some things only come from experience. So, truth is, you'll never be fully ready. That's just part of the process. It's part of learning, going from learning to leading. But as you're leading, you will continue to learn. Okay, the moment that you decide to take control of your path and lead instead of follow, your mind has to be made up. Whenever you feel like that you want to step into a position of leadership, your mind has to be made up. And what I mean by this, you cannot be double-minded. You cannot start off one way and say, yeah, man, we're going to rock this thing. We're going to build this company. We're going to move forward. We're going to execute on our goals. We're going to meet all our deadlines. And as soon as something doesn't go right, you start to retract you start to lose hope in your confession or what you confess over your business and over your life. You cannot retract what you said once you started. Now, some people do that, but you need to, in these moments, develop resilience. You have to understand that, man, it's going to be okay. How many times have you went through a bad situation that you wanted to end, but now you're sitting right there and you're drinking your coffee, you're at Starbucks as if it never happened. You never thought that, pissing on yourself, because someone scared you in high school was ever going to go away. You never thought that, having a pimple on your face in that moment, you couldn't take your crush to prom. He never thought you'd get over those moments. And these are simple moments. And because, maybe I'm saying this for people who are 23 years old, 24, and they're just now stepping into entrepreneurship. You know what I mean? It's just the trajectory that their life is wanting to go at a young age. Now's the time. So I want you to know that you never thought that those moments were ever going to go away. You never thought that you would be able to live those things down. And I want you to know that you have to take that same mentality into leadership. You have to understand, today we may have missed a couple, a couple sales. We may have messed up and screwed up on a couple clients that would have taken our business to the next level. But you have to get back up and you have to do it again. Do not let one deal, one contract, do not let one misunderstanding, do not let one missed deadline determine the outcome or the trajectory of your company or the success of your company. You cannot allow these things. You have to understand that there's still tomorrow. There's still a tomorrow. The company still has, it still can flourish. There's still a possibility of the company flourishing. So you cannot get to a point that you let one mistake ruin the trajectory of your company or your life or your ideology on how things can turn out for you. So you have to continue to move forward. So that's number 3, man. We had 3 points, man. Like I said, man, this is your host, Caleb Thompson. This is the House of Business Podcast 2.0. We want you to know that, man, this is the place where we give you the knowledge and tools to execute your dreams and visions. And, man, we're glad you guys could tune in. I know you guys hear that paper that we're crumbling around over here. But number 1 was lessons from the back seat, why observation is a secret weapon. Number 2 was turning experience into equity, entering into the passenger seat. And number 3 was becoming a driver, learning from learning to leading, and also leading while learning. I want to put that in there. And lastly, I just want to say before we end this podcast, I want you to know that leadership is not about a title or position or even being able to influence others by obtaining these things, but it's about understanding how your, how your notes, taking your notes from the passenger seat and move from the back seat to moving the passenger seat, uniquely qualifies you to lead from a place of authenticity, empathy, and with confidence. So, man, authenticity is the number 1 thing. You have to be yourself, because the only way that you can grow is understanding where you are, understanding your strengths, your weaknesses. There's a lot of people that the opposite of authenticity is egotistical, prideful, or narcissistic character traits. You have to be authentic. Being authentic is the same. It's like the cousin of humility. It's basically saying that the cousin of accountability. It's basically saying that I understand where I am, I understand my strengths, I understand my weaknesses, but I'm going to take all these things. I'm going to be accountable. I'm going to hold myself accountable. I'm going to humble myself, and I'm going to understand that, okay, if you're Batman, stop trying to fly. You're not Superman. You have to understand, I'm Batman. I have a cape on, but I cannot fly from here to there in a certain amount of time. So you have to understand who you are, your own abilities, what you're capable of, and this is part of being authentic. This is part of being having humility. And these are the things that you need to do when you're in a place of leadership. You need to lead with authenticity. You need to lead with empathy. You need to lead with with confidence. So, man, and wisdom. So, but, man, like I said, this is House Business Podcast. You know what I mean? This is Notes from the Passenger Seat. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. We'll see you here back Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.